What's up everyone, it's me Ollie, and today I'm bringing you a tier list for the Barbarian builds going into the Season 9 from the PTR. Most of you probably know that the Season 9 PTR content is not looking too great, and sadly our build diversity is not looking too great either. The top spots are mostly gonna remain the same, with a new contender, right? There's a new build that feels really good to play and is quite strong. I don't think it's gonna take quite the top spot, but it will contend for some of the top spots, which is quite great. Now, the rest of the middle of the pack kinda got pushed down a bit, so there's that. But yeah, at least we do have a new build, so, at least that, right? The last season we played the same build again, so, new stuff. Now, I do want to point out that I'm not going to be covering any bugged stuff, right? Anything like the negative damage that was going on PTR, thanks to an interaction between the Gizmo and Berserk Ripping aspect. Which, by the way, I want to say I freaking called 3 days before the PTR came out, right? PTR came out on the 27th, and on the 24th I was already calling out this interaction. I have no idea why the hell it even made it into the PTR, considering I took a look at it, and I could see with almost certainty that it was going to be bugged with Berserk Ripping. Berserk Ripping has always had that type of interaction whenever they introduce something that just takes bleed, makes bleed do damage as a hit. You normally can convert it into more bleed with Berserk Ripping, and then it's just an infinite loop, right? I have no idea how the hell that even made it into PTR. It is PTR, but come on. That was so freaking obvious. But anyway, regardless, let's actually get into the tier list. Starting off with the basic skills that got the really good buffs, and they did get some nerfs to the aspects and stuff like that, but they're still quite strong. Especially with the new boots, which just make them cleave. It's really strong, also gives you a lot of damage. And the reworked aspect of adaptability, right? Making you scale with Fury. Like, the more Fury you have, the more damage you do. And with that in mind, Ramaladness is looking really great. Since you're already stuck in Fury, Ramaladness is just a no-brainer for most basic builds. There could be some exceptions here and there, but for the most part, Ramaladness is gonna be really great with basic builds. With that in mind, the basic build that stood out the most was actually Lunging Strike. Not only, for too many reasons, by the way. Not only is it really great to proc Rage of Argath, because it has inherent bleeding, which means it can proc Rage of Argath, right? And the reason for that is because if you can actually run Rage of Argath, you don't have to worry too much about cooldown anywhere else, right? You don't have to worry about bolt shiftings, which means you can run an additional damaging aspect on your ring. And you don't have to worry too much about tempers on rings and amulets and stuff like that, so you can squeeze a bit more damage there. And the main reason for that is because on the chest slot, we don't really have a good alternative. We do have Shroud, but since we're already running a dual wield with swords, you can't really take, for example, heavy-handed, you can't really take the one that increases the damage while you're wielding bludgeoning weapons, right? There's a lot of passives that you really can't make use of. So being able to actually take Rage of Argath instead of getting like 20-25% damage molt on the chest piece, and then transferring all of that molt and quality of life everywhere else, just feels really great. Now, the other main reason is because Lunging Strike can actually use the Moni rune, which is an incredible rune, especially if you're focusing on scaling Lunging Strike. You'll be scaling attack speed, right? That means you can proc the Moni rune more than twice per second, right? That's 200 offering, more than 200 offering every single second. That's quite on the high end. That's quite insane, which means you'll be able to proc things like whatever the rune is that gives you overpower for 0.35 seconds, right? You'll be able to proc it constantly, increasing your damage a lot, because even overpower being nerfed, that's still quite a lot of damage. And, because of those two reasons, Lunging Strike is just like 5 bits or so ahead of every other basic skill, and I don't think there's any reason to play any other basic skill. But if you do want to play them, they're not that far behind, like I said. Like, they'll definitely be playable, and they'll definitely be able to easily do T4, if that's your goal. So let's actually put them here. They're gonna be below Lunging Strike, right? But again, they're quite strong. Now, I think the weakest of them all is gonna actually be Frenzy. Frenzy is not really looking too great. It doesn't have anything specially going for it, right? So it's not the best. Now, we do have Flay and Bash. These two were already builds that you played before, especially on Season 4. A Flay could be a dark horse, because Flay duration and all the Bleach shenanigans, sometimes you find stuff. We also don't know how the Gizmo is gonna be reworked, right? So there could be some strong interaction there. I still, between Bash and Flay, I think both of them are gonna be great. I'm gonna put Flay above because, there's potential for some interactions to make it stronger. But yeah, Bash is still quite strong. It's gonna be really close. It's for sure better than Frenzy. It may or may not be better than Flay. We'll see. It's still quite strong. It still gives you guaranteed overpower. It hits like a truck. If you really like Bash, you can still play it. It's quite strong. Now, going on to our core skills, which, by the way, most of them got an indirect nerf because a lot of them relied on the overpower to increase their damage. And since overpower got, I wouldn't say gutted, but it got a massive nerf. Most of them, if they were kind of on the B territory, maybe touching A, I don't believe they're going to be that great. There might still be B-, but I do believe most basic skills will just perform better. Not only that, the core skill builds normally relied a lot on a good amount of mythics, which kind of make it even harder to get to T4, right? Because if you need to kill bosses to get mythics, you get more mythics in higher difficulties. So it's just a bit harder. I do believe most of them are gonna be down here. Rends might actually be the best of our core skills. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's quite strong. Now we'll also have a Pivot. I do believe it's gonna look something like this. Maybe Whirlwind's gonna be a bit behind Otta, I'm not 100% sure, but Whirlwind didn't really get any nerfs. It was already being able to do T4 content quite well. Again, you do needed the mythics, so there's a point there, but it's somewhere like this. Upheaval might be strong, but it just feels like ass to play, so it is what it is. Now, let's actually talk about the big boy here, right? The star of Barbarian right now, which is Mediums, right? It's still gonna be an S tier build. There's some debate if it's gonna be around Twisters or Earthquakes. I do believe it's still gonna be Earthquakes because Earthquakes can play with the Flicker tech. Dust Devils don't really have a reason to play the Flicker tech because they don't really have something that much better to put on the chest slot, while Earthquakes can put them onto the Mountain's Fury, and then you can even scale more damage thanks to the duration on Earthquake. So yeah, Minions are still gonna be S tier. They were able to easily do 100 on the PTR, no questions asked. I do believe they're gonna start, struggling when you start getting to 105. And I do believe we're gonna be able to get 110 clears, but I don't believe we're going over that. But yeah, it's still gonna be our best build when it comes to Barbarian. Now, on the rest of the Earthquakes, the Bash Otta is still, I don't know if I want to make it an A or S tier build. It's still going to be a really strong build. It's going to be able to get you to 100 as well. Probably not as easy as the Mediums, but it's still quite strong. I'm still going to leave it at S. It's a quite strong build and it's quite easy to play. So I do believe it deserves that spot. Now, when it comes to the other Earthquakes, we have 3 more. Whirlwind Earthquake, I think, is still gonna be better than Lunging Strike. By the way, I forgot to mention Lunging Strike right now. The unique gloves that you use for basic skills, the Gorgringer, whatever it's called, right? I forgot the name. They are kind of bugged. They're not giving you as much damage as you should get. If they get buffed, I do believe they'll be stronger than Whirlwind Earthquakes. If it does not, Whirlwind Earthquakes will probably still be stronger. Whirlwind Earthquakes just feels super good to play, and if you do want to push, you can just slot in Autumn, and the build basically plays the same, but you just spam Autumn every now and again, and you increase the damage a lot. Leapquake is still gonna be a really good build, especially if you're on a farm. Like, farming around, I do believe, like, this tier A, they are not the strongest, the builds I'm gonna have on tier A, right? By the way, let me put Lunging Strike EQ here. I do believe it's gonna be weaker than the actual Lunging Strike build that's doing damage with Lunging Strike, but it's still a really strong build. And the thing with all the builds here in A is that they are quite they feel quite good to play. All of these builds here on A tier feel quite good to play, while the ones on S tier, especially minions, with this flicker step tech and stuff like that, it doesn't feel too great to play with. Bash Otta, it's not the worst. It's fine, but it's a bit slow, but it's fine. If you want to farm with it, you kinda have to go with either back to lunging or Leapquake. It's not really advisable to farm with Bash Otta Earthquakes, right? So meh. This builds on the tier A just feel too great to pass up, and they are really strong. Now, I do have some other stuff that I do want to talk about here. First of all, that blow, I know a lot of people like it. It's probably still gonna be somewhat garbage with the rest of the core skills. Again, it's a build that really relies on overpower. I might even put it on D, I'm not sure. It's a build that really relies on overpower again, and overpower got nerfed. It is what it is. Now, we do have Kick. I didn't see a lot of people playing this build last season. I know in Season 7 there was a guy playing it, and it was really strong. It was not as strong as Earthquakes, but it was still quite strong. Now, it did get a bit of a nerf, because of the overpower nerf, right? Once again. So I'm gonna be putting it on B. I don't see a lot of people playing it because it's a bit clunky, but it's quite strong. Now, actually, let's not get into that right now. We do have builds around the seasonal power. I do believe they are quite good. I don't quite believe they will be an A tier, but potentially somewhere here in the middle of B, they will be quite strong. Especially if you use the one that resets on kill. I'm forgetting the name right now. Let's actually go here. I believe I have it here. Yeah, this one, Propulsion. It resents on kill if you actually use this Bloody Charm. So, you know, for speed farming, it's gonna be really good. For pushing, not so much. But if you do want to speed farm with it, it's gonna work quite well. The last one, Mighty Throw. It's not a D build, I'm fairly certain. Mighty Throw is a bit hard to actually put anywhere. This season, I think it was actually stronger than Minions, or at least at the same power level. The thing is, it was asked to play. It was relying on a multitude of bugs and snapshots. Theoretically, they got fixed. I'm not gonna, like, they already said they fixed those snapshots like 2 times before, right? I don't know if this third time is gonna be is gonna be the one that it's actually fixed. Like, if it's not fixed, it's probably gonna be like a B tier build, probably. I don't think it's that weak, but I also don't think it's gonna be that strong. At least you won't feel like ass to play, so there's that. But don't expect too much from it. But yeah, that's gonna be the tier list for Barbarian. Let me know what you think below, if you agree with it or not. There's a couple other builds I could talk about here, like Charge and stuff like that, but since I don't feel they'll even be competitive, like, these are builds that, the builds on C are already builds that will kind of struggle to get to T4, eventually be able to farm on T4 with them, but they will struggle to get there. I don't think anything in D is even worth considering running. You do have Thorns as well, but it feels kind of clunky. It might be good enough to put it on C. I don't really think it will be, but you know, I'm willing to be surprised on that front. Again, Charge, I don't really think it's a feasible build for us to play. We do have the like other builds that you could like make up, but for the most part, this will be it. Playing the Stables, there's probably a Whirlwind the Stable that you could put down here. Medium's the Stable, as I said, it's probably gonna be a fight between the Dust Devil and the Earthquake. I'm fairly certain the Earthquake will win, but alas, you know, it's there. There's a Dust Devil Whirlwind build as well. That's probably gonna be B. But if you're playing the Stables, you're just gonna play Earthquake at that point, right? It is what it is. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Once again, let me know what you think about the tier list down below, if you agree with it. If you don't, let me know why you don't, right? So we can have a discussion about it. And yeah, thanks for watching, and see you next time on my next video where we'll be playing POE. The new season is finally come out after almost a year of waiting. POE 1, right? I'm really excited for it. I haven't been able to cover POE 1 too much on the channel because, well, the game has not had basically any support since POE 2 came out. So yeah, I'm really excited for it. I'm considering playing a Cyclone build with the new axe that they released. So yeah, I probably stream a bit making the build on the POE, right? That's the real end game of POE, right? It's not the POE itself, it's the path to building. That's the real end game. But yeah, thanks for watching and see you next time. Either on the next video, which is gonna cover POE once again, or on the stream. Bye-bye.